we left Bremerton, Washington, and we are making our way to Tacoma. And thankfully we have radar and AIS, because you can get into situations like this where you can't see anything in front of you except for fog. Gets to be a little bit stressful, but that is why we have radar here, and we can see on the radar screen the red color is showing us where the islands are, actually where there is a boat out there. Is this a potential boat right there?
Plus this is AIS, so it's actually know that it's a boat. But there's a sailboat ahead of us, so it doesn't show much of the sailboat.
Okay, so maybe it doesn't have an AIS on it.
Oh, it doesn't, but it still should show up. It does show up.
It's right there. There's something.
But it doesn't show up great.
And then we are using straight up navigation maps because it doesn't matter. You can't see any landmarks, so you just have to trust your navigation system.
Which is, this is more important than the, because we can kind of see a little, well, it's not blanket like we went across Lake Michigan before where it was pretty much blanket, but thankfully nobody's out in Lake Michigan in the middle, and we did have radar and it was on our bigger boat. But
it still gets you a little bit on edge. We were crossing through, and a ferry actually contacted us and said they see us, keep on our current course. You can keep at your speed because we will not collide with you. And so he picked us up because we have AIS, and so he notified us to let us know we weren't in danger, and we would have no problem on the path that we were at. So,
and we have two things. We have AIS, so he was able to say Meyer, which shows up on his screen just like this shows Mission Drift.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And so he was able to radio me on channel 16, have me switch over to 13, and then talk to him. But that's nice. Plus we have See-Me, but this is probably less important. If you have an AIS, which most people, or I think it's probably regulatory for big boats to have AIS, then they can see us.
Yeah.
So they don't even need to see us on the radar. They can see us through their AIS. But the See-Me makes us a bigger target.
True.
So we look bigger on the water because of that little antenna on the top.
It magnifies us, so it shows us up better to other boats.
Right.
Okay.
So we don't, so because like sometimes you see little boats, you can't actually see them on there, because of that, they should be able to see us.
But little fishing boats don't have that.
No. Or AIS, they don't have AIS.
Yeah.
But we used to go out in Lake Michigan, and we'd go out and it would be foggy, and we're in our tug, and little fishing boats would just be flying past us, So.
Without seeing them, or just out of the blue, they would come.
So they weren't nervous about it.
No. But, even with those little fishing boats, it was challenging because you don't want to run into one of them, and Anyways, so that is the current situation out here on the water. I don't feel the need to get way up in front and look because we're just trusting our maps. Sometimes I did that when we were on the big tug because it was just, I don't know, helped maybe, but again, we trust our charts to navigate where we need to go. You can see the island starting to come through more now. But still can't see out in the distance at all. So it's super important that you have all the safety measures when you're out boating on big water, and even when you're not on big water, it's extremely important to have checks and balances when you're boating. floating in fog.
Well, I mean, if you have radar, that helps a lot because that can give you a different visual of what you're seeing. But the main thing is to stay on your chart, so your map plotter or whatever they call it. Stay on your chart and make sure that you're paying attention there, because it's like, I guess, flying through the clouds, you get disorientated. But what the radar does is, obviously, you can hopefully see boats coming up on you, but it shows you the land mass and where you are in between that. So then you can compare it to your chart, just to make sure that you're thinking correctly. But the key is not to is just to stay on this. So sometimes when we were in narrows with the bigger boat, our sundowner tug, I would basically not look up. I would not look at the surroundings, because a lot of times you'll think that, oh no, the center of the channel is the deepest, when in fact it's not.
Correct.
So in fog it's the same thing. You just need to focus on your chart to make sure that you are in the right spot as far as the depths. And we were in the North Channel on our big boat, came in on this side, and plenty of depth and whatever. On the way out, it was the same channel. It felt like we should be in the center or a little bit on that side. Obviously, wasn't looking at the chart. We hit bottom, but we bounced over whatever it was. So it was just like a rock or a ledge or whatever. We hit it though, and then made
popped
it over.
No damage, thankfully.
No damage, but the big boat was 32,000 pounds, so it wasn't like it was a big chunk, when we hit it.
And we had a rudder underneath, and so that was a bit concerning. And the lesson there, like you just said, was watch your charts, only trust your charts, don't use your vision, because your vision's going to mess with you.
Yeah, because a lot of times you think, again, that center channel, that's where I need to be, when in fact sometimes it's not at all. But again, the radar it gives you a couple of things. It gives you the opportunity to see little boats. The problem is little boats sometimes don't show up. So a lot of times I'll keep my radar on when there's no fog, just to kind of look to see how it's working. So as we came in, I knew it was going to get foggy. I could see it was sucked in. I brought up my radar and started watching the little fishing boats and seeing how they showed up on my radar, and then use that knowledge. But we came in behind the sailboat, and I had him on radar for a little while, but he got ahead of us.
Well, you can set your radar to a certain range, and that'll make objects look bigger or smaller, or you won't pick them up until they're 3/4 of a mile in front of you, depending on how you have it set. Right?
Yeah, you can set the range, but even so, he wasn't too far ahead of me, and he was not showing up on my radar.
Yep.
And so that's a little concerning, but we go slower than sailboats, so we're only going 5 knots, and that's what we do, especially when we're in there. The issue is other boats, fishing boats and such, they sometimes just fly through, so you got to watch out for them. But the radar is really nice, and again, but make sure that you're staying on your course that you need to be as far as your water depths. I also look at my depth sounder, because that then verifies where I'm at. And in this case, we're 300 feet as far as depth. But if it's like 20, 30, whatever, I compare it to my chart based on tide, where the tide is, and to my depth sounder to make sure that everything's good. And it's not that I don't think the GPS is working, it's just to verify everything. It's a nice thing. And even when we came in here, if I'm in 300 feet, the chances of going from 300 to 2 is pretty low unless we hit land, so it gives you a comfort feeling. The more depth that you have, the better.
And we have all this great backup systems with all our navigation and all our AIS and our radar and our CME, so that really gives us some comfort. So
the nice thing is this is a Nobletech radar system, and it's 14 years old, and it doesn't get used hardly ever. I run it when we're out and about, just even when we have no fog, but it actually looks great. I mean, right now it's probably the best I've ever seen it. But I as we came into the fog, I started it and I adjusted everything, but
it's all a matter of using it and dialing it in, because we have not needed it for a while, and so that makes a big difference.
The question is to somebody else, because I was thinking about replacing this with the wireless one, which I still might do. But, you know, like right now I can see this fishing boat well over there, and actually pretty good. But sometimes I don't see them till they get up close. So it's like, is it better in other ones? On our big boat, we had a radar system that I think it was about the same. So it's just when you're out there and you're trusting it through that fog, you need to have confidence in it. But this is probably as good as it gets. I mean, that's a pretty big outline for that little fishing boat.
Well, maybe he has something that makes him look bigger.
Could, but I doubt it.
Because we didn't see a go fast boat. I don't know what model it was. I say go fast because it's a high speed boat, not a fishing boat. We didn't see it until it was 3/4 a mile out, and it looked really small on the radar. So what is the difference there?
Yeah, and we ended up seeing them as it came by, but
and it didn't show up huge like this fishing boat, who is, you know, behind us.
But it might be because it's aluminum fishing boat.
Oh,
I don't know.
really?
Yeah. Because it, I assume so. Because the fiberglass may be different. And I don't even know if it was aluminum fishing boat, but it's possible in this area that it would be. So, but I think it works well because I mean it looks really good right now as far as there's no clutter in the middle. It's only outlying. I'd set a switch on it to enhance the targets, I guess. And so when it's finding something, it's enhancing it. So it looks best I've ever seen it, really. So
yeah.
I'm not sure we need a new one.
I think he just wants a new toy.
Well, no, I don't want to put a new one in.
You want to get rid of that huge laptop in front of you, and you like new gadgets.
The new one has the, it just goes onto an iPad. It needs to be an Apple or a Mac, but it goes onto the iPad and it's wireless. So all you have is power cord to it. So I probably will switch to it just because then I can get rid of the laptop and just have the Apple iPad and not even have the Zoom. Just use the Zoom as a backup. So maybe having both here. But one issue I have is this is also plugged into my autopilot, which we're on right now. So I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with that. But
yeah. So the fog is clearing. So wanted to do a video on that current situation because boating isn't all glamorous at all. It's 99% amazing, and then you have that 1% when stuff happens and you got to be prepared for it. And so that's it for today's video, guys, and we are making our way into Tacoma, Washington to meet up with our son and to spend some time with him for a couple days while we are on the water, and we will see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.